Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, March the 12th, and it is a chilly day where I am. Bright sunshine, which makes things a little better. When I was out running errands yesterday, it was full on, had to wear the sunglasses, certainly in the afternoon because of how bright the sunshine was, which was great. I love sunshine. It makes handling the minus bajillion, well, it wasn't minus bajillion T, it was minus like really frosty. But as long as there's sun, it feels a little bit better. So today is a sunny day, which is great. But the temperature this morning when I got up was minus 18 degrees Celsius. Which is, I'm calling it about, no, I can't do the math in my head. Anyway, if you want to convert it, you can convert it. Anyway, but frosty. So all those people who are posting things about looking forward to spring coming and getting ready to do their gardening and planting thoughts, we are a long, 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 long way away from that. The snow in the backyard is bad. Not as bad as some of the snow that I'm seeing from some of the winter storms down in like Tahoe. Yeah, that's got snow. Anyway, but we're coming up on the middle of March. I would like it to be a little bit warmer. But c'est la vie. If you're a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. And as always, many thanks to those of you who come back regularly and catch up on my stitching journey and comment and subscribe and all the good things. Because this is a channel about cross-stitching. Well, this is a channel that has become mostly about cross-stitching plus a little bit extra, which we're going to talk about in a bit. With that, let's get into the comments from last week. Great comments last week. Really enjoyed them. Thank you to those of you who chimed in and talked about the kinds of printers that you have for the to do those little mini pictures. Still debating what to do about that. So I went and looked at the options. Like I say, thank you to those of you who told me what you had, because I went and I looked at them and I looked at articles that talk about like what's the best printer for blah, 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 and you know, for what you're trying to use it for. Those ones that do the minis do, generally the print size is 2 inches by 3 inches, which means, of course, you know what my next step was, is that I came and I looked at my book and then I measured. It's a little bit too big to fit. So now I'm debating, like, is it worth getting the printer and having to cut and do you do it anyway? So I'm debates. Haven't made a decision. We'll come back to it. Still muddling along. But thank you to all of you who commented about the ones that you've got and some suggestions about where to get a good deal on them. So all of that was fantastic. Got some comments and questions on the March Quaker. So Leah asked a question because she is planning, sorry, I'm just having that moment where it's like the hands are so dry. Sorry. She's planning on working in them. So she's being a mid-adopter, which as you know, I totally support mid-adopting. The early adopters find all the issues, and then the mid-adopters, you know, jump on the bandwagon once some of the problems have been solved. So I always approve of a mid-adopter because that's usually where I like to be. So her question, I talked about when I showed March Quaker last week that I was using the called for floss, and she said that's really great, but are you using DMC or are you using Classic Colorworks? Because there's two options listed on the chart. So I'm using the called for was sort of helpful, but not exactly. Fair comment. So far, I am using the Classic Colorworks for the March one. And then Anna asked me, how was I stitching on 40 count? And the answer is I am using 1 strand of floss over 2 threads. So 1/2 using full cross. And then Sarah the Stitchin' Mummy had a suggestion for how I could because last week I was commenting that I need to do a better job of how I'm working on the monthly Quaker. She had a very valid suggestion, and her suggestion was, since you're so far ahead on your ABC stitch, why don't you take yours, that chunk of time on Sunday that you are normally using for my spring ABCs, and using that time instead to work on monthly Quaker. Sounds totally logical, right? Except that I have a secret behind the scenes goal on my monthly ABC, and that might change, but I think I've come up with a plan, and we're going to talk about when we get to the monthly Quaker, which I think I have a new version of how I'm going to approach it and try to work it into the schedule better. So stay tuned for that. But I love the suggestion. It makes sense if you don't know my secret new version of the goal, which is I'm keeping a secret still. We'll talk about it much later. All right. Suzanne commented that she really appreciated her appreciation of spreadsheet. She's an actuary, so not surprised. She's got another question. We're going to talk about it when we get to the piece that she's talking about. I've got a note here. I can't even read it. Angie's got a question for me, and for the life of me, I have no idea what it says. Angie, I'll have to come back to your question. Sorry about that. Now, so thanks to all of you who had fabulous comments on the fact that I have now gone down a crochet rabbit hole, and the comments were hilarious. So I really appreciated those of you who chimed in and said it wasn't my fault and that it was entirely Cheryl's fault. So thank you for the support. Thank you that you got it correctly. I had a few of you who chimed in and sort of commented that I had enabled you to purchase certain things, you know, as a result of watching my Flosstube channel. And just so you know, that is a totally different situation. And yes, I heard that chuckling. Here's why it's different. When I show you something and I enable you and you go out and you purchase the thing, I've inspired you to do that, to participate in a craft that you're already participating in. You were already cross-stitching. It was already in your realm. Cheryl, who's led me down the crochet rabbit hole, is totally different because I wasn't doing any crochet at all until she started working on that darn temperature tree blanket. So Rachel Q, I laughed because Rachel Q said that she's like, great, now she has to go out and look for temperature blankets because I'd said there are multiple options. Yeah, there are multiple options. If you find, so this is terrible of me, but I'm doing it anyway. Rachel, if you find a different temperature crochet blanket, because there are some out there, and you think it's better than the temperature blanket that Cheryl's working on, can you please let me know? Because you know, just you know I like options. Anyway, Lala had a great comment because she was going, I tried crochet, and she was thrilled to discover that she didn't enjoy it at all, so she avoided the rabbit hole. And I laughed, right? She knew how she can knit, but she doesn't enjoy it, so she doesn't knit, which I totally get, right? Like, I can knit, I'm not good, and so I don't knit. It's not enjoyable for me. I can do it, but I don't like how things are looking, and I don't like it enough to sort of go to work on it enough to improve, right? So it's totally fine. Not everybody has to do every craft. It's totally fine. Mandy commented that she also fell down the crochet rabbit hole and she now has 3 projects on the go. Yeah, wait till we get to stash acquisitions. Anyway, I understand that problem, and I'm really, really concerned about it. Lisa made a comment that her rabbit hole is recipes, which, don't get me wrong, I love that rabbit hole too. I'm really good about saving them, whether I'm downloading them or saving things. So I like on the Instagram recipes. I'm not very good about actually going and trying them. I have a couple that I keep saying to myself, you really do need to try this, because if you like it, you would probably enjoy how it ends up doing. So my goal over the next 2 weeks, giving myself a good wide time frame, my goal over the next 2 weeks is to try a couple of them just to see how I do. So check back later if I start talking about recipes. Yes, I've been accused of being a spring bell pull enabler. I didn't write down who that was from. So the question was also, are there other ones? And there are other ones. There's actually 2 series of them. I have them all from the magazines. They are now all released as individual leaflets. I'm going to go through all of them at the very, very end. So once we get through all of the regular stuff, including the topic at the very end, I'm going to show them all, and I'm going to read the words that are on them. I did look at them online, and generally the descriptions do not do a good job of telling you what the words are, and I'm pretty sure that your interest is because you want to know what the words say. Like, it's nice if it looks pretty, but it's also helpful to know what the word on the thing says. So I will go through all of the other 7 seasonal bell pulls from Stoney Creek at the very end of this, so you can see them. Okay, so the other one, it's really bothering me that I can't figure out what Angie's comment is, but oh, maybe she was the one that did the spring pull. Anyway, Angie, I'm going to go back and check, sadly, after this comment, and if I haven't done it, we'll do it again next week. I had a couple of comments on my suggestion of a coronation cell. So I've pulled together a couple of things. So the simple answer is, if you go to Etsy, and in the search bar, if you type in King Charles Coronation cross stitch, do the search on that, and then a bunch of options show up. Now, don't kid yourself. There are a bunch of options that are not cross stitch, but they are King Charles Coronation related items. So you just have to make sure you know what you're looking for. But I did go through a bunch. There's more now than there were when I did my last search. So I took pictures of a bunch of them. Okay. So this is, so for the coronation, they've come up with an emblem. Some people call it a logo. Technically, it's called an emblem. There's a couple of versions of this. So this is, so there is the King Charles emblem. This is a cross-stitch version. This is 160 by 160. This is the smallest of the options that are available for the emblem. There's 160 by 160, 250 by 250, and 350 by 350. From this particular company, and I'm me, so of course I went and I looked on the official website, the royal family's website, to find out. And they've got a whole thing on how you can use their emblem, like, legally, and the options and all that kind of stuff. So there officially are multiple color options for the emblem. All of the charts that I have seen with the emblem have it charted for all of the colorway options that the royal family has talked about. So that's there. If you wanted something really, really small, you can just sort of do a version of the King Charles cipher. So just C for Charles, all for I'm so used to saying regna, but that's not right. That's the queen. Anyway, the Latin for king, with the 3 in the center of that and then the crown above it. It's small, so that's an easy one. This one is the one from Cosford Rise, so lots of things on there. It's got the year of the coronation, but it doesn't have the coronation date. So if I were doing this one, I haven't made my decision. If I were doing this one, I would have to put May 6th on there somewhere. Like there's a lot of options out there. No, they're all from Etsy. Like, you know, here, let's see if I do this. Yeah, so like just one that's like a really monochromatic, you know, simple. They turned it into a pillow. Another monochromatic, so you could do it in any color you wanted. So there's lots, yeah, so there's lots of options now. There's more options now than there were before. So I think as we're getting closer, this is where the, this is River Drift. Yeah, so there's lots of options out there. Like I say, just go to Etsy, use those magic words, go through them. Just make sure that you're getting, go into the description and make sure that it's a cross stitch pattern and that it's not an embroidery pattern. There are crochet patterns available. I haven't done anything with them, but they came across one and I kind of howled and went, I don't think I'm doing this, but I thought it was really funny. So here's the emblem as a crochet pattern. They have it all worked out how to crochet that thing. It would turn into a blanket. So I think it's like 250 stitches across and 250 rows. Anyway, I don't think I'm doing it. I don't think I need the emblem as a blanket, but I thought it was funny that it did show up as a cross stitch. There are also knitting patterns for those of you if you want to knit. So here's a knit crown and you put it over one of those orange chocolate balls. That's how you get it to keep its shape as a crown. I thought that was hilarious. I'm not a knitter, so I'm good. Anyway, so I did also go on to Instagram, and the hashtag Coronation Sal is not currently being used. So I figure I'm going to use that, and I'm going to post, probably going to start posting in April, you know, what I've chosen for my Coronation Sal. You'll see it on here, and then I'm preparing to do my Coronation Sal. For me, I've decided that the answer is, so not everybody is a King Charles fan, which is totally fine. Not everybody's a royal fan, but if you want to participate and sort of say, you know, it is a globally recognized event. And if you wanted to participate in the Sal, my answer is stitch on anything that makes you, that you think is royal related in any way, shape or form. You know, so Mirabilia's Royal Holiday, right? It says royal. If you're stitching on something where you go like they look regal, close enough, stitch on that. You don't have to stitch on a new one. You don't have to stitch on something that is King Charles themed or anything like that. If you stitch on May the 6th, something regal / royal related, and you want to post it to the hashtag Coronation Sal, would love to see them. All right, with that, looking at my notes, have I covered? Yes. Okay. With that, let's get into my stitching. So I've had an okay stitching week. I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be, and we'll talk about the things that are causing the problems when we get there. So let's start with my Sunday piece. So this is Little House Needleworks Spring ABCs. This is my ABC chart that I am working on so far in 2023. This is because Sarah the Stitchin' Mommy showed me what happens if you work on an ABC related thing and was successful, so I'm continuing that. So here is where I got to, and I got everything accomplished that I wanted to on this. So I finished the fence, put these 2 little stitches back up in here, and I did all of N, which is nesting. So that whole thing. So I am now officially complete all the way to N. So I am over halfway through this thing. Let's go. Right, so there we go. I was actually hoping that I would have leftover brown when I finished nesting, so that then I would start on the bird in the next part. But surprisingly, it's like the universe knew that I actually literally finished the length of brown when I finished nesting, and I went, apparently I need to go work on my Lent piece. So anyway, so I am going to work on this today for a little bit. The next part, sorry, I'm juggling a few things here. Whoops. Okay, so the next part is O, and it's got that big bird. So I don't know that my goal is to finish all of O this week. We'll see how we do. Suzanne had a comment where she was questioning that the Q looked off center to her. And so I love that you said that, because first of all, you know I have a thing about symmetry and balance and all that kind of stuff. And I went, oh, I need to go look at that. So I went and I hauled out the chart. So the Q is aligned with all of the rest of them, because it's hard to see here in the picture. So let's pick on, to reassemble this now. Okay. So on these letters, right, so F, you've got this one stitch that's out here, right? So that's what happens on the Q, right? So the first stitch in Q is one of those, and then it comes in and does like the round shape for the Q. But the outer stitch for that part is aligned with all the rest of them. So at this moment, I think I'm okay with that, but you know, check back later in a couple of weeks when we get to Q and see if I've changed my mind, because that's entirely possible as well. Right now, I think I'm okay with it, but I will assess when we get there. Okay. So then Monday came along, and Monday is my designated day to work on my Queen Elizabeth pieces that I've got going in my stash. It's gonna go as long as I want it to. So in February I finished the Helen Phillips pattern that she had done for the Platinum Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth, and so that was completed. So this month I started the Queen Elizabeth II keepsake pillow. So it's very, very similar to the one that she did for the Platinum Jubilee. So I'm doing this one as well because I said so, because I wanted to, so I'm doing it anyway. I want to finish this one and the other one very, very similarly to go with those tea tins that I got. Now, the interesting thing about this is, well, when you look at the pattern, it looks like it's the same color palette, but the interesting thing is when you go in, the actual DMC colors that she used for the second one are not identical to the first one, which is fine. My decision is, when I stitched the first one, I knew I wanted to do this one as well. So all of the colors that I used for the first one, I kept in the bag, and I just slotted this picture in and went, okay, this is what we're doing for the next one. So I am keeping the color palette consistent with the first one that I did. So I'm not necessarily using the called for DMCs. I'm starting with the DMCs that I used in the first one. So one of the differences, actually, so I'll show you where I'm at. I only did it a little bit, but it actually turned into more stitches than I thought it was going to be. So I'm doing this on a 28 count white opalescent Lugana. So for example, the called for blue to stitch Queen Elizabeth is one shade darker than what I used for the blue, for the scripted ER in the first one. So I'm using that. So I'm using 796, whereas it's charted for 797, or it might be the reverse of that. I'll have to check. Anyway, like I say, I'm keeping the color palette consistent with the other one. As always, I changed the, I used Petite Treasure Braid PBO2 for the gold, so it's metallic and sparkly. It's hard to tell on camera. It's nice that on camera you can see how sparkly the Lugana is. It's hard to tell how sparkly the Krynic. It's not Krynic. It's Petite Treasure Braid. And the funny thing is, when I finished, so I started in the center, did Queen Elizabeth, did the box around it, and then I just went, you can't leave this like this. You need to get all of that gold done in one go. So I did the crown, which was more than what I was expecting to do, but it's totally fine. So more stitches in this than I was planning on doing, but I'm okay with the outcome. It's not going to get finished this month. I will work on it on April the 6th, and we'll see how far we get. And there's a little part of me that says, I'm hoping not to finish it on April the 6th, because when we get to May the 6th, which is the day of King Charles's coronation, I think it would be, for me, just interesting to sort of put in the last few stitches into my Queen Elizabeth memorial piece and then start my King Charles piece on May the 6th. So that is my plan. Regardless of how far I get on April the 6th, I want to leave a little bit left to make sure that I can work on it on May the 6th as well. So that is, that's my Queen Elizabeth piece. I have several Queen Elizabeth pieces. This is going to be a theme that goes on for a while. I'm going to stitch Queen Elizabeth pieces until I've got it out of my system. I don't know when that's going to be, but check back later. All right, which brings me to my Lent piece, which is the Stoney Creek Spring Bell Pull. This is from, you'd think I would know by now, the February 2006 magazine, in case any of you have have back copies of this. The back copies of this magazine are no longer available, but they have released it as a leaflet. It's now leaflet 155. That's what it's going to look like. I am stitching this on 28 count Plum Shenandoah linen by Zweigart, which has been discontinued. And I did okay this week. I'm a little behind of where my goal is, but I'm hoping to catch up tonight. So I finished P completely. So there is P with its back stitching around the butterfly. I don't know that I love back stitching, but I don't hate back stitching. It was fine, and in this case, I love the definition that it brings to that butterfly. I think it's great. And then I got started on R. So on all of these, because I'm trying to center them in the square, I got to start, so I finished the back stitching, and then the next thing I had to do was the back stitched words, and I went, well, I'm on a roll. So it was totally fine. So I got the back stitching done on that. The butterfly is complete except for the body, and I do the body last because it is the same color that is used for the back stitching. So it means I can take my 2 strands, do all the cross stitching, and once I get to the end, I just keep going with whatever is left, because then you're only doing the back stitching with 1 strand, and I take them and I go in 2 different directions and finish that off. The tulip is complete. There's a little bit more green to come down here and up here, but the next thing that I need to do is the big R, which is why I'm hoping I can catch up a little bit in where my stitch count needs to be for this one. It is by far the color that has the most stitches because R is such a big letter. So that's why I'm hoping to catch up. So it will be complete. It will be completed by Tuesday for sure. I just don't know that it will be completed by Monday night, which is sort of if I'm keeping on track. So the interesting thing is the next letter N is the one that has the second most. No, that's not true. R-I. I is next, which is really small. It's one of the smaller ones. So if nothing else, I think I'll be able to make up some time when I do I. N is the biggest one. And yes, I haven't ironed this. It's going right back into its Q-snap and whatever. But I'm really pleased with how this is coming along. So my Lent project is, we're mostly staying on track. It's coming along. I'm still feeling okay that I will be in a position that I will have been able to finish all of this by the time we get to Easter Sunday, which would be great. It creates a little bit of a problem for something else, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Which brings me to my March Quaker, From the Heart Needleart by Wendy. This is part of my monthly stitch. So last week you saw that I got 2 lengths of floss into my monthly Quaker. This week, it's been 7 days, and so far I've gotten 1 more length of floss into this, which means this is not coming along hardly at all. But I got all of the other side done. So my new plan on this is that I am going to try to put 1 length. Now, it didn't take me a huge amount of time to get my 1 length of floss in. So my plan for this week, I hope that didn't screw anything up. So I just got a notification. My plan for this week is that every day I'm going to put 1 length of floss into this thing because it's way, way, way behind where it should be. And hopefully that means that we're going to make progress. Check back next week, see how I do. Which comes to Saturday, which was the 11th. And so on the 11th of every month, I work on my Just Nan Remember 911 piece. This was the piece that she designed in commemoration of the events of 9/11. And I've decided it's finally time to stitch this. Disastrous episode on this one. I'm stitching this on a 28 count antique white Jobelan using all of the called for fibers. Similar to the Quakers, there are 2 options. There's a silk option and then there's a DMC option. I am using the silk option. So here's where I got to on the next band. I was really hoping to have this whole band completed because it was Saturday and I was going to have time. So I got my daily quota in for the spring bell pole. Then I put in my 1 length of floss into the March Quaker, and then I worked on this because I was like, I can just work on this band. Not good. So I got to the end. So I was doing all of this across here in the center. There's more stitches to go around it. And I got to the end and I was off by a stitch. And I went, how did I go? Hang on, what's going on here? Where did it go wrong? Why isn't it balanced? Anyway, so the mistake is right here in the center one. I assumed that they were exactly the same all the way across. There's nine of these sets of eyelets with these mosaic stitches in between. I'd looked at them and went, they're all the same, and went across, and they're not. They're all the same except for the center one. The center one is different, and that's why I'm off by 1. So I have to rip all the way back to I have to rip all the way back to here and restitch all of this. And at that point I just went, I'm done with this. So even though I'm supposed to only be stitching this on the 11th of every month, depending on how stitching tonight goes, I'm keeping this out because if nothing else, it's going to be a pain in the neck to rip it back. But I'm going to rip it. Okay, I said rip. I'm going to unstitch it. To me, when you rip something out, it really means like the seam ripper or the scissors is coming out and like it's coming out, never to be seen again. I am unstitching this because I'm using the silks. So I'm going to unstitch it, but it's going to be annoying as I'll get out to unstitch that thing back to the middle. So if nothing else, I think I'm going to try this week to get it unstitched and get it back to the end of the row. I will still be unhappy with my progress on this because I really wanted to have that whole band completed, but it didn't happen. Anyway, so there is my stitching for this week. So let's talk a little bit about stashquisitions and stitchy kindness. So I only have one official stashquisition to show you, and you're gonna laugh when you see it, because anyway, I was putting in an Amazon order. This thing was sitting in sort of like possibility land, blah blah blah, and I decided to top off the order. I bought a sticker book. I know. Anyway, I bought one. It's little. It's not horrifically expensive. Trying to keep the stickering under control. So it's all flowers. I don't know how to do it anyway. I don't know how to show this properly. So this is the gist of the floral land. Don't know that the yellows are going to come into play anytime soon, but anyway, I'm trying not to go, you know, redonkulously stickery, but I felt a little I should pay attention to whatever that page back is there. Does that look like a Christmas tree? I know, now I'm distracted. See, wouldn't that be nice for December? Anyway, I'm trying to be behaved and I'm trying not to fall down the stickering. Like I already went down the crochet rabbit hole. Like, anyway, I bought one. Now, I haven't put any of them into the book because I've decided I can't go putting these into the book until I make my real decision about whether or not I should buy one of those mini printers and put stickers of my finished projects into the book. So I know. It all started with the stars. I was totally fine until I bought the stars. Anyway, all right. Which brings me into some stitchy kindness. My mother is continuing to do some cleaning out of some crafting related items. So, one of the things she gave, really, she's getting them out of her house and giving them to me. I'm collecting them, a bunch of them, because they're going to end up being donated to the Grandma Ujama's charity here, which has an event in May. So I have agreed that she's piecemealing them regularly. There is at least one stop every week to go get stuff from my mother for a donation. And she's giving them freely. Anybody can, you know, how I distribute them is however I want. She's just like, I'm donating them, whatever happens. And so one of the things she gave me was a bunch of bags of buttons. Now, I am not a button collector. I don't tend to sort of go like, ooh, buttons, I need them. No, I was totally fine. But I did have to go through all of the buttons in the bag because I've now made a biscornu, and I know that I can make a biscornu, and I liked how the biscornu looks, and I'm planning on making more biscornus. And you need a button in the center of the biscornu. Now, I didn't keep all of the buttons that I kept from the bags, and there were only a few, not a lot, but the one that was my favorite, which is the one I'm going to show you, is this one. And this is why you have to go through the buttons in the bag. This is a button that has a maple leaf on it. Wouldn't that make the perfect button to put the center of a Canadian themed biscornu? Perfect. Which is why when I found it, I went, see, this is exactly why I have to go through all the buttons. There was only one in the whole bag, which I'm still totally fine with that. That's okay. I generally sort of go for a lot of biscornus, there's the front side and the back side. The back side isn't necessarily as interesting, so it will be fine. There was one. But I went, see, this is why I have to go through the whole bag of buttons. And, you know, one maple leaf button really wouldn't do anything for anybody else. It would only be someone like me, right? So anyway, so I kept it. Along with about probably six or eight other buttons. So, you know, I didn't go button crazy. But it did make me say, now I need to go to IKEA and get one of those little container things with lids, you know, because they're generally really inexpensive at IKEA. I know Cheryl's going, why are we not going to Goodwill? Which I might do that as well. But I'm now in the land of now I need to go find a little container to store the random buttons that I'm planning on using for biscornus. Rabbit hole. All right. The other thing that came over are these completed little squares of cross stitch. And I'm looking to you lovely people sort of going, anybody got suggestions for what I should do with these? I don't really want to get rid of them, but I don't know exactly what to do with them. And then see, there's Christmas related ones. And this is the only one that's done on ivory. Everything else is done on white. Anyway, if you've got wonderful suggestions, would love to hear them. Then, as I was looking, going like, there should be, oh, there it is. It's like, I was going, there's one more thing after this. Where is, I found it. And then, so there was this frame, which was clearly purchased for a, some cross stitch related something, because it's got the sticky board for it, as well as mats. So I'm keeping this. I don't know exactly what I'm going to use it for. I don't know that I love the hearts on this one, but the blue mat behind it is the coordinating one anyway, so I'm keeping this. You'll never guess. The Harmony Guide to Crochet Stitches. Because I've fallen down the crochet rabbit hole, so I'm keeping this as well. You're just like going, I looked and went, oh no, you're staying with me. And it really, it's just all stuff around open work and lace patterns and filet crocheting and patterns for texture and nobbles and bobbles and relief patterns and puff stitches and spikes and textured stitches, and so that's staying with me as well. All right, so the next item is because we have a new segment. I'm going to start off with the stash acquisitions for the new segment. Cheryl. Cheryl's laughing. I can hear her. Anyway, so I went out and so I bought some more wool yarn. I got these two colors because these are the colors that go with the variegated one, which means part of my problem this week is that I have been crocheting. It's a problem. It's just going to be its own segment periodically, not every week. So I was working on my blanket. So I ended up getting the gray and the blue because I decided that it would be fun if I did my blanket where it was a stripy blanket. Now the interesting thing about this is I don't feel like when there's nothing wrong with a really stripy blanket with solids, but I thought it was really interesting when I pulled, hang on, I shouldn't have this much yarn. Okay, there we go. There I go. It's a stripy blanket, but I like how the variegation, I like how it's coming along. And just so you know, it's really interesting. To me, it looks really different on camera than in real life. I feel like in real life that these solid stripes are much more muted, that they blend in more with the variegation, which is interesting. Now I did put the blue one in there. I did a row of blue and I didn't like it. It was too much. So the blue got ripped out. So I'm only doing stripes in the aqua, the white, and the gray, and I'm okay with how it's looking. But yeah, so that clearly represents, you know, a chunk of time, which is why I'm a little behind on my Lent cross stitch piece and didn't have time to work on my March Quaker. Cheryl. And in case anybody's wondering, at the end of the day, I'm going to call this Cheryl's blanket. I'm not gifting it to Cheryl. It's staying with me, but I'm going to call it Cheryl's blanket. It's, in case anybody's wondering, because now I know that there are some crocheters out there as well. This is really, really simple. This is nothing fancy. It's, I'm using 2 rows of the herringbone half double crochet stitch for the variegated and 2 rows of single crochet for the solid colors. And I'm just alternating the 3 colors. So variegated, solid, variegated, clearly you can see that on camera. And I'm following Cheryl's whole thing. That I am stitching in my ends as I'm going along so that I don't have to do it at the very end. And I think that is a brilliant suggestion. I was going, so why is there one end hanging out here? Oh yeah, it's because I haven't done the 2nd row of the aqua. I don't sew the end until I'm done the color. Weird. Anyway, so there's my crocheting. Now I'm only planning, this is what I'm calling a lap gan. So it's a lap gan size. So I don't even know how long this is. I did a chain stitch and then I compared it to one of the other ones that I use while I'm stitching. Because, you know, I like a lap gan. So baby crib size is what the end goal is. And I held it up to one of them and I did a chain stitch till I got to okay, that's the length. And then I went, great. And then I started. So I don't even know how many stitches are in this. And how many I'm gonna crochet this until it's the size I want it to be. So I'd gone out and I'd gotten the gray and the blue so I could do my stripies. And then sadly I crocheted and crocheted and crocheted. And then I went, look at how sad my ball of yarn is. And we are at this many rows. And I need a lot more. So then I had to go back to the store, 2 trips to the store, because then I had to go back and get more of the variegated. Now, I like to think that I'm smart. So I went online and I looked, because I got it from Michaels. I went online and I looked to see which Michaels had the variegated yarn. The interesting thing is it looked to be out of stock just about everywhere, including the store where the particular Michaels I had gone where I bought it originally, which is not the one that is closest to me. But it said it was out of stock. And I went, there were more balls of yarn there when I bought it originally. So I went back to that one, and this is just an example. I bought several more because I went, I'm clearly going to need them to finish this lap can. And then so I put several into the basket, was wandering around the store because there's no way you, like, it's Michaels. There's no way you just go in and get the one thing that you're planning on getting, right? You have to look through the store, right? So then I looked around the store and I was heading towards the checkout and I went, don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. So I went back. There was only one ball left. And I went, just get the one that's left and buy it all and bring it home. So I bought them out. Now I know for sure that they're out because they didn't anyway. But, so there was that. Cheryl! There's my crocheting. So then the problem is that, you know, I can see me having more than one project on the go. Like, I don't remember who it was. Somebody said, Mandy, who said she's got 3 projects on the go. I can see me doing that, which means I'm going to need more than one crochet hook. So I liked the crochet hook I was using. And I went, so I should probably get another one. So what do? I went back onto the Michaels website because I got it at Michaels. I went back onto the Michaels website. Out of stock just about everywhere. So I ended up having to order it online. I ordered it online to make sure. And on Saturday, I went to another Michaels, so I could get another one of my crochet hooks. Cheryl. Anyway, the next few projects are all going to be Cheryl's fault, just so we're clear on the concept. I figure after 3, it is no longer Cheryl's fault. Then it will become my fault. But this one plus the next 2 are Cheryl's fault, just so we're clear on the premise here. So that's the new crochet segment. I'm telling myself that the crochet needs to go down, needs to just go sit in its basket until Lent is over. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be really good about that and just say it needs to go away for a bit so that I can catch up, make sure that I'm on track for my Lent stitch and get caught up on that March Quaker. So my goal is that hopefully next week, no crocheting. Okay. Now, let's get into the topic. Now, if you looked at the topic and went, I think she's got a typo, the answer is I don't have a typo. And if you know me really well, you might have looked at it and went, I really hope she's not talking about this, but it's Judy and there's probably a good chance she's talking about it. So yeah, the answer is let's talk about 2024. Now, so why am I talking about 2024? We are not even 1/4 of the way through 2023. Blah, 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 blah. But we all know I have a 5-year stitching plan. So what I've decided that I'm going to do, because I learned a couple of things from last year as well that I'm applying to this year, is that I want to start working on 2024 earlier than I was working on it last year. So normally behind the scenes, I'm contemplating about what the projects are in the 5-year plan, all 5 years, and I'm slotting things and I'm rearranging things and all that stuff is going on. But what I'm normally about the summers when I start going, okay, let's make sure everything for the next year is kitted up and ready to go. And I've decided that I'm going to start working on that earlier. you know, like now. So what I'm going to try to do is start, my goal is to kit up one project a month for the 5-year plan, knocking off the ones for 2024 first. Now there's a couple of glitches in that plan. Number one, there are 2 months in 2024 that in my spreadsheet are yellow highlighted, which means there is a chart in there, but I am not firmly committed to it. I'm feeling about it. How's that for a good description? So there's 2 months in 2024 that are yellow highlighted, and I have not firmly decided. So subject to change. There's one actually in 2023 that is yellow highlighted, but I think we're coming in for a landing on that one. I know I should have had it done, but I changed my mind about something. So, well, anyway. So it's really just to sort of work on it little by little, get some things kitted up. I know I've got other things in the kitted but not committed, but the answer is they're kitted but not committed. That's courtesy, that language is from Traveling Stocking Stitcher, who's wonderful. And, you know, they're not committed. I've got them there, but when I look at some of the other concepts, I go, yeah, these rank higher than that. So my plan is to kit up, my goal is to kit up one a month. Now, I looked at January and February because I was like going, the January and February for 2024 have all of the threads. And for one of them, the fabric is already there. I'm having them going, oh no, that's not true. The fabric for both of them are in their bags. That's why I was like, that doesn't sound right. No, the fabric for both of them is in their bags. So I know what those projects are. I want to start working on them. That's all good. The other part of this equation is because I've said that I use markup RXP, it's really, really beneficial. And I found that when I was working on Spring Bell Pull. So I put Spring Bell Pull into markup RXP in the summer of 2022. I knew it was going to be my Lent stitch for this year. I was really excited about it. I was really looking forward to it. And so I put it into markup RXP and I got it all set up and everything was ready to go while I was out enjoying the sunshine on my balcony. So normally when I'm out on my balcony, I'm a good, give me a book, give me a Slurpee, give me some tunes, and just let me sit out there basking in the sunshine under an umbrella with like great sunscreen. And I'm just a happy camper. And I can be out there for hours and hours and hours and hours. And so last summer, I spent some of that time actually putting some of my stitching into markup RXP, and it paid off in spades. Like when I got, if I had come to Lent and in addition to working on the project, I actually had to get it set up, I would probably be way, way, way behind. Way behind. So my part of my plan, this is why we're talking about it in advance, is so that as we get to sitting out on the balcony enjoying the sunshine, I have now decided I need to be quadruple tasking while I'm out on my balcony. So I'm hoping for a really great, sunshiny, lovely summer. When I'm outside, I am not someone who can stitch outside. Like any of you people who can pull that off, like kudos to you. I don't have the skill set. I can't pull it off. I can't do it. I don't understand how other people can do it. Anyway, I can't do it. I'm an inside stitcher. I'm not an outside stitcher. But so while I'm outside, so I want to get these charts scanned at the library because the library scanner is better than my home scanner. So scanned at the library, which I can do at Library Stitching, scan it in, get it loaded into markup RXP, not work on, and then when we get to the summer months and I'm sitting out there, that they will all be sitting in markup RXP so that I can get them all set up, sized correctly, everything identified, everything is set up so they're ready to go. And that is my project over the course of the summer, is to get those ones into markup RXP ready to go, which means here's where the triple tasking comes in, which means I can work on getting my stuff into markup RXP while listening to an audiobook So I'm still getting my reading in and enjoying my Slurpee. Or listening, audiobook or listening to music, take whatever you want. Anyway, so that is my goal. So that's why we're working on it now, is that I can get some stuff. So also if I'm making changes to the colors, that I can get that in there. So for example, when I made the change in colors for the yellows, which don't get me wrong, it was late. I was already stitching on it, but it's easy to change a markup RXP when I made the final decision on my yellows. And then I just got to change it, because now when I go into markup RXP, it's easy when you're using DMC, because those colors are in markup RXP. DMC, Anchor, Madeira, and something, I think there's something else, but anyway. Right, so now, like when I'm working on the spring bell pull, I don't even have to, like, I just click on the symbol, because I know it's all DMC except for the Weeks Threadworx Mulberry, which I'm using for the letters. When I look in markup RXP, the DMC number that shows up is the DMC number. Like, so I don't even have to sort of go, oh my goodness, what color is that symbol, because it's in markup RXP. I just look at the top and go, it says, okay, DMC 153, done, here we go. And that's the benefit to setting it up. Now, in the Quakers, when I'm using Classic Colorworks, those are not as equivalent. I do put it, I am using the DMC equivalent that's on the chart in markup RXP, but I do know that that's not the real color. So it doesn't necessarily work for all of them. And the reason why I'm focusing on this is because, so unlike Spring Bell Pull, which was awesome because I just hauled up the chart and started, when I was preparing for 2023, I had scanned in, because I had a paper copy, I scanned in the March Quaker. I'd loaded it up into markup RXP, but I had not set it up until we got to March. And by then, I was not happy, right? Because I had all my Lent stitching to do, blah, blah, blah. I had to get it set up. So I was a little unhappy about that. So I'm learning. So some of the summer stuff is also going to make sure that the back end of 2023 stitching is already set up in markup RXP as well. And so the benefit of this is by doing it in little chunks, right? So do some chunks of kitting up, month by month, looking ahead and working on those. I'm going to skip the months that are yellow because those are not firmly committed and subject to change. But yeah, that's why I'm talking about 2024, because I'm already actively working on my plans and my budget for what I'm stitching and getting the stuff pulled together for it. Prices are going up. Inflation is experienced with everything. So this is hence budgeting me in a spreadsheet, all that stuff. So I'm working on pulling that together. There's a couple of glitches in how that plan works. So check in about 3 weeks I'm going to see how it works out. 3-4 weeks. Let's see how it goes. But yes, so I'm already looking at my 2024 plans and beyond. Right, so I'm actually looking across the full 5-year length of time that I've got, and looking at some things. One of the things, it's part of my 2025 plan, is that I've got a chart that in my head I've said I've got to get this into markup RXP in advance, because the fiber that I'm wanting to use for it is already in my stash, which sounds like a good plan. So why should you be worried? Because I don't know how many stitches are in it. And now that I've done, 2022 was the year that I sort of figured out how many stitches I can get out of a length of 6-stranded stuff and what the equivalent of that is. Now that I know what my personal number is for this, I need to get that chart into markup RXP so I can see exactly how many stitches there are. So I know whether, I only have one card of this specialty fiber. It came in a stitchy box years ago. I think it's the perfect fiber for this particular chart. But now I need to know whether one card is going to be enough. If it's not going to be enough, then I need to go on the hunt for it and anyway, that it might be a little more challenging. It might be challenging to find that. I don't know if it's still in production, which means if it's not in production, then I'm going to have to be on the hunt for a different fiber, which is why I'm looking ahead. So I'm starting on that now. Again, so every month when I go to stitching at the library, I'm going to have some charts that I'm planning on scanning in, so I can get those ready for my summer stitching project outside, which is not actual stitching, but getting everything set up in Markup RxP. Because like I say, when I pulled up Spring Bell Pull and everything was ready to go, fabulous. Fabulous. Like when it's in there ready to go. And, you know, while I'm out there sitting in the sunshine, listening to an audiobook, there's no reason why I can't make sure that the symbols are correctly identified and all that kind of stuff, and that the pages are all aligned and all that good stuff. So I can, that's how I'm planning on doing that. But I want to make sure that they're all there, set up in Markup RxP, ready to go. Now, the interesting thing about this is that I also need to play with the exporting function on Markup RxP, because I don't want to use up all of the memory space on my tablet for all of these projects. So don't get me wrong, I have a couple of tablets, so I'm planning on doing them one, but I'm still planning on exporting them. I just want to make sure that I've got that going. So I've got a number of ones that are sitting in Markup RxP right now that I've already finished, and I'm planning on exporting them and bringing them back in and making sure that I know that I'm doing it correctly, so that I can do all of that. So I'm working on my Markup RxP skills as well. Anyway, so that's why we're talking about 2024, because I'm starting on the kitting, I'm starting on the getting the charts loaded and ready to stitch. Anyway, yeah. Anybody else working on 2024 plans? Alrighty. So that's the end of the topic. So the last couple of announcements, just a quick reminder, if you're in the Greater Calgary area, we are getting together to stitch at the library this Saturday, March 18th from 9:30 to 12:30 at the Signal Hill Library. The address for that is in the notes section down below. As always, you don't need to let me know in advance that you're coming. We've got room for lots. You don't have to come for the full 3 hours. If you're in the area and you go like, I don't really have time to stitch, but I'm picking up groceries in the West Hills area, and you just want to stop in and see what everybody's working on, you're also more than welcome to come in and do the 10-minute, I just want to see what everybody's working on as well. Like I say, I have a friend who is threatening to come. She's not a stitcher at all, but she says like, okay, 9:30 to 12:30, yes, somewhere like that's like grocery shopping time for me over in that area. So she might be stopping in just to see what we're working on, and she's more than welcome to come and do that, as are anybody else. So if you're in the area, come see that. Just a quick reminder about the Korean silk embroidery exhibition that's going on at the downtown Calgary Library. I have not made it yet, but I do need, it's on my to-do list for this month. All right, now, so the last thing we've got to talk about, which, like I say, is not necessarily, if you are interested in seeing all of the other Stoney Creek seasonal bell pulls, that's what we're going to be doing now. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned, keep watching. If you're not interested in that, thanks for stopping by and spending some time. As always, any comments, questions, topics you'd like me to talk about, happy to have the conversation in the comment section down below. All right. So as I said, they did two sets of seasonal bell pulls. So you've seen spring. So the summer one, so that was the first set. So I'm going to do all of the first set and then do all of the second set. So this is the summer one. This is in Stoney Creek Cross-Stitch Magazine, April 2007. I don't remember what the leaflet number is, but I will have the leaflet numbers down in the notes section below in case you're looking for them. So there's the gist of what it looks like. And even on this cover, it's really hard to read what it says. So I'm just going to read them out. So this is the Summer Bell Pole. S says, summer breezes softly blow and sing of carefree days. U says, under the sun my garden grows, and humbled I kneel and pray. M said, the first M says, make my heart to dream, O God, of a world that's filled with peace. The second M says, may the light that marks this season shine on the path that leads. E says, eternal love given in grace is a blessing to all mankind. R says, reaching out, accepting all good hearts in kind, 'tis the road to follow if it's peace we want to find. So that's what the summer one from the first set looks like. The next one is the autumn one, which is from Stoney Creek, August 2006. That's what the front of the magazine looks like. Dina from Half Stitch Cross Stitch was working on this one. I'm still going in my head. I don't remember. I think she finished it, but if she hasn't finished it and it's still a whip, my fault. So this is what this one looks like. And this one says, for the A, always around, God's love to be found. The U says, under the brilliant autumn sky, prayers of ... T is for ... Thanksgiving are lifted high. The U is for unceasing grace unfolds us all. The M says, his mercies unchanging, winter, spring, summer, or fall. N is for nature's harvest of gold encircles the earth, the embrace of God for mankind to behold. Sorry, and I'm just always going back. I'm having a quick look at the other projects to see if there's, oh yeah, this is one, it's got a lovely one. Also in this magazine, which is August 2006. Isn't that lovely? There's also one that says Rejoice that's very similar to this. I think this is also now available as a leaflet. I will check on that, and if it is, I will put it in the notes section below. I think it's lovely. I don't know if I said this last. So I found myself looking through some back issues of some cross stitch, and there was one page that had a lot of things on it and they were small. Just in case you were wondering, when you look through your magazines and you go like this, the picture doesn't enlarge. I looked at myself and went, wow, you were spending too much time on your tablet when you're looking and going like, wait, what? Why is it not enlarging? Anyway, grateful for the technology. This week was just thinking how my maternal grandmother she would love all this technology and what we're doing. All right, so the next one is February 2007. This is the last of this first series. This is the winter one, which looks like this. There's sort of 3 of the 4. And winter says, for the W, wings of angels bending low softly touch the winter snow. I says, in each snowflake is God's hand creating beauty for every land. N says, night of winter, give us peace, warm our home with love. T says, treasure every moment, days melt like snowflakes in the sun. E says, exquisite memories fill the heart like diamonds in the sky. R says, reach your arms around them, may God's grace in us abide. So those are the 4 from the first series of seasonal bell pulls. The next set, this was a good issue. This is autumn 2015. Look at those lovely ornaments. This is the, remember I bought those pillow things from Stoney Creek. Anyway, I'm just going to show them. See, there are those ornaments. Now they're doing them on towels. My answer is you don't have to do them as a towel. You could just do them as a flat foldy thing. They would look lovely. This is one of the ones for the Christmas, that Christmas pillow thing that I bought that came pre-finished. Love it, love it, love and joy come to you. Okay, now back to the bell pull. Which I just, honestly, this is ridiculous. 54. Okay, so with the new set, instead of having big long verses, they've just used individual words. So 1 word per square. There was a lady, she used to do Flosstube, now she's really Miss Oh So Crafty. She's now primarily just on her blog and Instagram. She was working on one of these. Might have been spring, could have been summer. I forget which one, but she was working on one as well. So this is the spring one. And the words are sing, praise, renew, inspire, nurture, and grace. So that is Spring Bell Pull 2. The summer one is from the winter 2016. So they show that, you can do it as the bell pull, vertically, or, you can always stitch it horizontally. Sorry, this is the problem with the magazine, is I get distracted. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, that's also in this one. So the words for summer are simplify, uplift, meditate, meander, enjoy, and relax. Actually, they've actually got some decent pictures of these ones. Like, so there's the R. There's the E. It gives you the flavor. Then the autumn one the autumn one is in the spring 2015 magazine. And it looks like this. And the words for autumn are awesome, unfailing, thankful, uplifting, magnificent, and noble. And then the winter one is in the summer 2015 issue. This could be distracting. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I know why this one's a problem. Oh, look at that. See, monochromatic on, isn't it lovely? We all know joy is my favorite word. What did they do? See, here's the problem, right? So what did they do this with? It's just DMC B5200 on, now they used Crystal Dwarf Cashel Linen by Picture This Plus. Interesting. Crystal means that it's dyed on an opalescent base. And then they've used a Mill Hill Treasures in the corners, so 4 of them, and then 2 Stoney Creek snowflake beads. Now, whether you needed the beads, you don't have to, but isn't that lovely? Ugh, lovely, lovely. There's also this one. Yes, Noel, Noel. All right. Magazines. Here's the winter one. And the winter words are worship, inspire, nestle, treasure, embrace, and reflect. So those are the 2 sets of the seasonal bell pulls from Stoney Creek. Again, I will put in the notes section down below, I will list all of those magazine issues. I will list all of the leaflets. I will also, because now I've shown a couple of extras, I will also put this, sort of say, like, the autumn one is in blah, 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 plus the joy one and the Noel one anyway. So all of that will be in the notes section down below in case you're looking for that. And with that, let's wrap it up. Let's hopefully wrap it up before we fit. Like, we're movie length again. So for those of you who enjoy the really long ones, you're welcome. For those of you who hate the really long ones, don't forget you can always hit pause and come back to it. You don't have to watch it all in one go. You can chunk it out as much as you want. I do that on a lot of whip parades where I sort of get to a point where I go like, okay, I need to do something else now for whatever reason. Pause. I can always come back and keep working on it. So with that, as always, thinking of the people of the Ukraine, thinking of the people, you know, again, just because we've got a family friend that's working over in Turkey and Syria's relief work, thinking of the people working through that, both the people who have experienced the trauma as well as the relief workers who are going over there. It can sometimes be really, really tough. Even though you're there to help, you're sort of taking on all of that grief, anguish, anger, all of that stuff can sometimes be directed at you. People where there's flooding, the traumatic weather events, certainly, you know, there's always things going on. So thinking about all of those things. So as always, I hope that you are staying safe. Safety first, safety first, safety first. When in doubt, be safe. Yeah, better safe than sorry. So I hope that you're staying safe. I hope that you're staying healthy. I hope that you're finding some time to do your stitching. or crocheting or knitting or quilting or any of those little crafty things. And I hope that by doing that, you are finding enjoyment, contentment, peace, stress relief, whatever you need it to be. I hope that it's do something that does that for you. And with that, I hope to see you next week. Take care.